All right, here I go. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going with it this way. I hope it's okay. Oh, yeah, okay. Hard to sit. Okay. Can't talk about New York. Whoa, I'm falling. Can't talk about New York without talking about cousins. Cousins. Especially one special cousin, Nancy. Nancy was my sweetheart. I fell in love with Nancy. Nancy was my first girlfriend. Nancy was the first girl I ever really liked a whole bunch. And without even thinking about it. I don't know how that happened. And to this day, I still love Nancy. Nancy. How can I say this? Nancy was my cousin. Nancy was Cuca's daughter. And Cuca is Titi Fefa's daughter. Okay, and they lived in the projects and down a few blocks down and this way and that in the same building that Tio Pancho lived. In those same apartments, in another floor, I think lower down, I don't know, I forget. But Nancy. I love Nancy. I told Nancy I was going to come back to New York and marry her. I never did. She sent me a letter once in the 70s, early 70s, saying that she was getting married. I was heartbroken. I was so heartbroken. But, I was a little stupid kid. Didn't have any way. I didn't have a job, didn't have a career, nothing. So, she went and got married, which is fine. She had her life and stuff. And then we reconnected. She found my email address in somebody else's email and sent me an email. Are you Emilio, my cousin? And I said, yeah, that's me. And then since then, we've been communicating ever since. I did ask Nancy to marry me. Back 10, 15 years ago, I said I had my house in Vero Beach, and I told her, look, before we get too old, I'm asking you to marry me. I have a good job. I own my own home. Will you marry me? No, she didn't. It's okay. I still love Nancy. All right. We would go to the Good Samaritan Church. Was that it? The Good Samaritan Church. Because we had to go to church, okay? When we went back to New York and we're living there, Sundays we would go. Not everybody, but a bunch of the family went to that church. And Nancy was there with Joey was supposed to go. He didn't go all the time. Alexis, I don't know if she went. Margie did go. And Cuca was there with her husband. And, okay, we go to, I was young, so we had to go to Sunday school. But the best thing about the church in the summertime, they had tons of field trips. Tons of field trips. We went to museums. That's where I mentioned before. We went to all kinds of museums. I forget where else we went, but the main thing that I remember is we went to the Statue of Liberty. And Nancy came along. And it was great. So, I knew Nancy was my cousin, so we were kind of hanging out together. And for some reason, without even thinking about it, we were holding hands. I don't remember when it happened or if I grabbed her hand or she grabbed mine or we did it together. We were holding hands and walking around. And I used to be afraid of girls, a little stupid kid. I like girls, but I was always like, oh, they're not going to like me, so I'm not going to say anything. For some reason, all of a sudden, we're holding hands. I don't know how that happened, but she was holding mine, I was holding hers, and we were having a good old time. Went to the Statue of Liberty, walked all the way up those spiral steps to the top, looked out for a second because there was a big old line of people behind us, and walked down. And then I loved Nancy, and Nancy liked me. We didn't see each other that much, but because we were not in New York all that long. But every once in a while we'd get together, and I was always looking at Nancy. She was like taller than me, I think a little bit older, and I was totally in love with her. You know, it was wonderful. Nancy, and we communicate till this day. We send pictures back and forth, and I'm sending her this video because I can't talk about New York without talking about Nancy. In fact, the last day, which is a hard thing, and she remembers the last day that before we were leaving, I tried to dance with her. I was trying to flirt with her and do stuff because I liked her so much, and she wouldn't do anything because she was afraid. But then later on, she told me that was such a difficult, hard day there. Yeah, I love Nancy. We went into the Tunnel of Love in Coney Island together. Because one time, Titi, Fefa, we all went to the beach at Coney Island, and then afterwards, we got dressed back up, and it was right there at Coney Island. So we went on a ton of rides. I remember Titi Fefa had that kind of purse that you, like, has those two little things that go and it opens. She had all this money in there. And we just went on all these rides, and she paid for them all. And me and Nancy went on the Tunnel of Love. The Tunnel of Love. I didn't even touch her or anything, but it was nice to be next to Nancy. You know, Nancy was like so nice. And till this day, I still like Nancy. She was my first love. And I tell you, I don't know how we ended up holding hands. I don't know how that happened. It was just this natural thing, boom, and we're holding hands. Yeah. She told me when she told me she was getting married, I was just totally heartbroken. And Nancy says that her mother and her sister used to make fun that I was always telling her, I'm going to come back to New York and marry you. I never did. You know, we went our separate ways and we had our lives, and this is, 2019. And I just wanted to make this video especially for Nancy, because I can't talk about New York without talking about Nancy. Nancy was wonderful. Nancy's still wonderful. When Nancy came to Florida with her daughter and visited me at FAU when I worked there, the audiovisual specialist, video conference specialist, she came, but then she ran away. I said, let's go have lunch. And then, no, she went. She was going to visit some uncle in Miami. And then afterwards, she emails me, well, come to Miami. Well, I was broke at the time. I couldn't do it. It was heartbreaking. But I still love Nancy. Nancy's wonderful. Nancy's my first love. I'll never forget her.